Welcome back, everybody, to At the Source here with Shermica Farquhar and Ken Sambury. We are super excited today because we have the one, the only Sheriff Mumbles. All right, you know who we are, so tell the people who you are.
Oh, let's just tell them, my sheriff.
Not sheriff. What that mean?
You
have a gun?
I'm a
badge?
guy. I happen to have a badge right behind me. I happen to not have a gun. I don't think I want any guns.
Amen.
But sheriff, music producer, engineer. I don't know. I do think I really track how long I kind of doing this, but I'm around doing some stuff, doing music for people and helping them write songs and make this song nice so that they can play it out into the world. That's my job.
Nice.
And we appreciate some of those songs. So our SokaTribe veterans know literally every class since 2015, and he hates this story, right? We close with Ready for the Road, also known as Differentology, and this is one of the masterminds behind that. So, I mean...
Yeah, it's a nice song.
It's a nice song?
It's a cool song.
It's a cool song?
Now, I think now I get more... I used to say less embarrassed, but embarrassed is not the word. Like, with a song like that, it wasn't anyone. For me personally, I felt it was very, very easy to come across, or people to misconstrue intent to come across as cocky, when a song gets that huge, right? So I never used to really mention it. I know at a place where, I kind of comfortable. Kind of like, oh yeah, no, I did it. Like, it's cool. Like, I mean, I'm not trying to be facetious in any way. But it is what happened. I actually did the song now, so it's that honest truth. I did the song, so I could afford to say it. It's cool.
As you should.
I feel a little bit better about it now.
Well, we love it, mostly because I think it speaks a lot to the carnival spirit, and once you encounter and you engage, you're ready for the road. So we're right. Going, yeah, and so definitely. With that, I know you say you don't know how long you've been doing it, but how'd you come to the carnival world? Tell us.
Bro. I mean, that was kind of...
and that's a windy journey.
It's a serendipity. That's kind of a thing. I've been in music for a while, but to get into carnival, the carnival, the thick sauce of carnival, I could actually say from school. I started playing drums in the pan side in school at about 10 or 11, and then that was for about 7 years. And then when I left school, I was in a rhapsody group with a couple of friends from school. And that lasted about 2-3 years. Sadly, one of the members passed. So that kind of just spoke in the wheel, But, I mean, we were still around doing music. And then there was this tenure in between there. I don't think I was ever not in it. Like you're Trinidadian, you're kind of always in it. So I would always think I was never really. Nah. My first big breakout tune, my first... or second production was Kimber Sozano's Put It On Me. That's 2006, and it's one of the dearest in my heart because it's one of your first, and that and all was just at the time that was real huge. So I was in the carnival. So I didn't get too deep into it after that, but I did so many other things, and then I came back. Ended up linking with our brethren, Jared Fryer, road manager for Kess now. And we collabed for a couple of years, and in that tenure was when Differentology happened, 5-Star Keep Party happened, I had a nice rhythm called Sneaky Guy Rhythm, and a bunch of, I can't remember a bunch of things 2012, 13, a lot of music was released, which was real rare for me, because I haven't done that since, to be very honest. So, yeah, in a nutshell, you do things after, but I could say, I've always been in and around, but really wetting my foot, 2012. Yeah, that's a real long story to get to this point, right?
No. I actually wasn't enthralled, I just didn't know any of that. Yeah. I only met Jared when I think we booked Kess, and then he messaged me, hey, all right, cool, what time? No time to shop,
He's super cool dude.
Yeah, I think he's vibes. We spoke a little bit more recently, just about different things, so that's real good to know. Yeah, I always learning about people's stories, how it's intertwined and how everybody's connected in little ways and stuff like
that. The place is small enough for that to happen. So it's there are enough people, if you really get into the thing properly as a producer or as a writer, at least, you end up inevitably in rooms with almost everybody at some point in time. Almost. About
the process. right? Because we are in the days of multiple rhythms, and then you also have like artist driven music, you have producer driven music. I mean, you were a musician on your own before this, so it's not just you behind the machines. Talk to us about the process.
What process? What part of my process?
How does it, I mean, we're in the room where the magic happens, so talk to us about any portion of the magic.
If you don't bring punching in the room, nothing gonna happen. That's all like. No, I think I saw something the other day online, or more on Instagram, and it was Timbaland saying that find yourself in a room with like-minded individuals. Like you really need to share everybody's energy. Music is kind of like a spiritual thing, it's a fellowship now. And me personally, that is how I prefer to move. I believe the fast pace of the carnival industry doesn't always allow you that luxury. But it is how I prefer to move. And I think like my process ends up being, I mean, I don't need people in the room to kind of cause my vibes if I just create it, But I mean, taking it past that step, I prefer to have people around. You don't need to be involved in the track. Like, you'll just sit down there and then I could just start something and there's enough, like just the energy in the room, because then I might just be feeling how you may or may not be vibing on it, and then that kind of gives me a semblance of what to do, what not to do. But my process is usually, it isn't a set thing. It never really is a set thing. It's like, it's where the wind blow and where we fall along. But essentially at some point in time, my brain goes to a place where you now focus on that gray area between production and vibe or intent. So now we kind of crossing the worlds where you have to be very technical about what kick I choose and what snare I choose and what key I in, how I decide to run things, but then also how it feels and how it moves and how it breathes and da. So I try to take a very musical approach. To my detriment sometimes. Carnival music or soca music isn't always the most musical, to say the least. I mean, some might disagree. Music is music, but musicality is a different thing altogether. So, I mean, like y'all heard me doing this song. Yeah. Yes, it's a typical melody, but it's not musical. The folklore melody makes it appear musical, but we don't. Dun, 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 we don't there now. So, whereas for me, I have to stay to the rule of that, but I have to maintain the vibe and make it still feel something. So for me, inevitably, putting musicality is like I pull out my ukulele, a trall or something, at least to break up the vibe now. So usually that is my process. Like that's where I get to enjoy something. The more musicality I could put into it, like just slap a augmented chord or a major seven somewhere where it's not supposed to be, but it feel good, Yeah. So that's more my thing. Most times it's not a regular thing here. It isn't. But I stick to it because it always works for me. It's always one of those things that kind of sets my stuff apart then,
So as we talk about, you said feel a lot, and so I have to go back to one of my tunes from last year, Feel the Love.
You calling me touchy? Feel?
You, look.
Hey.
This is gonna be like, you don't put you on blast, listen, okay? All right.
Yeah, I feel the love, man.
Tell the story of an inspiration behind that.
They came and then like after a while going back and forth helping them with their range, I realized like okay, I'm not pussyfooting, but I kind of giving you all leeway. So then after a while, too many ideas, too many opinions, and then I was just like, flick that shit. Like I just go and grab the reins. So I just pull out a guitar and I was like, yeah, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna put this here, thing and do like, okay, it is our vibe. And then we started to kind of real get into something. And by creating the guitar lick that became the fundamental backbone or I guess musical tone of the song, it made everything else around it find its space, like what it needed, where it didn't need. And from a production standpoint, that worked. Then we had a nice musical base, enough for Mud to get an idea for him to write. He pulled that song together in no time. And we had that recorded a while ago, almost a year. That song was done almost a year before. But just that, like, let's say, when did it come out? Like, late 2019? Could have come out early 2019. But, smart move by Ryan to give it time for it to build. He thought it was weird. For me, it's not weird. For me, that's, like, straight up my alley, no boy. But I know what he meant by getting the people to acclimatize to it. So it did take like about 2 or 3 days, and then everybody was like, okay, which is really short, to be very honest. But it was a smart move to hold it back, because then it gave the song time to grow in that kind of way. And it was cool. Like somewhere later on in the process, Keisha from Just Now, he got the files, he mixed, which is good to not have to do it.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of like get somebody else's creative interpretation of it.
Keisha vibes.
Yeah, it's a vibe. Like, I mean, he make it slap. He just really make like real slap.
No, that's Keisha.
Yeah, it is, and it was such a vibe. So it was like, it was nice to be in a collaborative effort that wide. Usually, it is just me. Usually, yeah, it's just like, okay, yeah, we do this. Okay, we record it. Yeah, we mix it there. Usually, it's just me. But it was nice to kind of share the space and share the energy with so many people, so you can kind of tell where it felt a little bit more breathy, a little bit more open. So it's a good project, man. That's cool.
So I'm going to let me pass it to Ken, then I'll circle back.
Yeah, that's a problem. So I actually wanted to ask about your Adi award up there.
Man, that's the only one that I physically have.
Tell me about.
Tell me what an Addy is.
All right.
Okay, Addy is like,
There you go.
it's like, I don't know, is like the local awards things for like people who do like corporate ads, radio jingles, whatever. So the agencies kind of line up their projects at the end of a year or end of a tenure, and I guess, you know, the studios who worked on stuff, audio or visuals, all these stuff would enter into different categories that they would have set, and then I guess people would win awards by whoever polls or votes or whatever. So being involved in a lot of these radio ads or jingles for like a bunch of random people. I mean, I don't really need to name drop, like they're doing well, you know. This was just the first one that I physically got. I think this was something for Shermica, like they did like this whole rebranding thing, and it wasn't like simple, like they wanted this whole theme song now. It's like a proper song that they wanted, the kind of thing.
So how do you feel like, you know, you talk about taking the reins, and you know that's something that you like to do and you did, and you feel you love project, but how do you feel about that within the constraints of what a client wants?
Now you know you know when to push, you know when to pull. I think most clients also know when they come to me, what they come to me for, and where to push and where to pull. Sometimes I'm very touchy with it, because I do understand Carnival is our vibe, and I live wild now, boy. You know what I mean? So sometimes, like, because of where my mind is musically and how many things that I like, I choose to always kind of incorporate so many things. I just like fusing things. So sometimes the jam is not that. Get them the canker along down the line, everything in the middle, peel the sauce. And sometimes I lose the plot. And that is okay for me to say. So sometimes I'm very timid about how harsh I go. A good example of that being the opposite was last year when I did a song called The Sound with Bungie Garland. And we were done. Like, I was done recording, I kind of just touched it up and I sent it to him, and he was like, hey, you gotta wire this up, you know, it's too nice, it's too thing. And I was like, oh, word? So you tell me the gate open now? And he's like, yeah. And then he starts sending like House of the Rising Sun, and like, hey, hear these organs, and like that vibe is what we could put on the second verse. And I was like, all right, cool. I go and put, and he's like real like sci-fi effects, and I was like, okay, I have a theremin, I'll put that in, put some guitars on top of that, and like it made so many unique sounds from it, like I wouldn't have if he didn't say go ahead.
Yeah.
Most times people are really touchy about it because they're very, very concerned about how the radio receives it, how the crowd receives it. So everybody panders to that now. So the musicality that I like isn't always at the forefront. It isn't like missing. It's never always at the forefront. So I was mindful of what people need to get. Ultimately, is a service provider, right? Ultimately, you're providing something for someone, so you don't really need it so far away. But I guess that's part of why I don't do as much soca. Like, I don't want to lose myself in the sauce. Like, music is, as I tell you, for me, is a very, very spiritual thing. So it's like, at any point in time, I could give you what you want. But at what point in time do I actually consider myself and what I want or what I need to grow? Like, I could give you something, but why do I need on a musical level for me to grow? Like, I wouldn't do everything. You understand? Yeah, if you tell me this while, I could be like, yeah, right there with you now, but you know? But yeah, it's cool. That's more or less to answer your question, I think.
Yeah, no, thanks. I think you did.
Yeah.
I really like the acoustics on that. So like, yeah, the actual like No, I'm not really like that musical to say, how to put it, boy. I could describe accurately. So I'm coming from a total layman consumer perspective, right? So that is my big disclaimer. However, when listening to it, I felt like, that tune. Yeah, I felt like so many things were going on that it made it exciting for me to listen over and over. So that's what I felt.
That is the point.
That's what I felt.
And that's what you try to do from a production or a mix. Like, you don't need to know. All you need to do is feel.
Yeah,
that's it.
I can't tell you if it's your girl.
I always tell people.
That's the trouble in the back, right?
So I always tell people I'm a curator of mood. That is what I do with music. So, which is why, I mean, I'll say it again, I don't want to sound like I'm bashing the genre, which is why I don't do it much. The mood is very monochromatic in soca. It is meant to feel like this because it panders to a particular audience. At any point in time, I do not wake up feeling like this.
Yeah.
I did not wake up feeling, and this is actually me, I did not wake up feeling good yesterday morning. But I went to sleep feeling a lot better. Wake up feeling better this morning. And the cycle might repeat again tonight. I genuinely don't know. So at any point in time, my musical palette gets wide. So that is what kind of keeps me at this mellow bass. And as Shermica would know, like, she don't ever see this player upset. But that is how I keep my balance. It is music. Anything that I could find to counterbalance. I'm like, hey, if I'm feeling too low, I guess something that'll pick me up. Or I guess something that'll kind of mellow me out. So with that particular song, the mood, like, I got leeway to curate a mood. Like, I got leeway to kind of make things move. Like, from a technical perspective, I could tell you that I put pitch shifters on the back of a delay, which means all the delays move up and down in pitch. And that's weird. Like, you are not going to notice it until I point it out to you. Yeah. But what that does is that it creates a little timbre in your ears that affects something. And now you just feel like, oh shit, what just happened? You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, and that's the point. The point is to kind of really keep it moving. Most things here are so linear in source, linear in vibe. Like, I like that. I like to have things move left, right, up, down, in or out. Because it creates an exciting listening environment for the listener. Like, you don't actually need to be in the source to get the source. You know what I mean? So that's more my thing. I also understand it's not always preferred.
Yeah, it's not everybody's cup of tea. Now, I have a next question. My next question is, like, from a more, let's say, industry player perspective, what do you feel is going to be like the future of, you know, carnival and so on? I gonna ask for the whole thing, and then we can break it down.
Put money spot there, boy.
No, well, I mean,
nah, it's a good question. Genuinely, I cannot answer this question honestly because it's not going to be a very nice answer. She can ask because she knows what answer is, right? But genuinely, I don't know. And a genuine part of honestly, I don't see too much of a change. I don't see too much changing. I don't see this entire situation affecting people so much that someone is going to go into this source and really, oh shit, think about it from a different perspective. They're doing it now because there's no time for anything else. This is what you have to do. You really have to reevaluate what you're doing now. When the place normalizes, I think you're going to be straight back into the same thing. I think people are going to create music, people are going to gig, people are going to fly, people are going to different protocols, yeah. But it's going to go back into the same place. Like I've come to a point, like I guess when I was younger, I used to kind of have an issue with it. No, I don't. It's like the music is still, whether we want to accept it or not, in my mind, the music is secondary to the festival, right? So the music will always be made to aid the festival. When the festival comes back, then everything will kind of be decided at the point. At this point in time, men I applaud everybody for putting such effort and trying, like, in the absence of it, fantastic. I just think if men put like 50% of that effort in the other 8 months of the year, then we would have a little less of an issue. But I mean, to each his own. Like, I don't know your life story. I don't know what you're going through. I don't know what it takes for you to get to that point. At the end of the day, I could say there's no excuse, but I'm not in your shoes. You know what I mean? if everybody wants it collectively, I feel like there's always going to be a way for it to happen so that the music wouldn't feel like in the absence of the festival, it'll kind of pan off. But again, I don't know what is going on in people's rooms. I think like there are just like one, maybe two people I think that are okay. Funny enough, I had the same conversation last night. The only couple of people I think are maybe not now, but have within the past 3, maybe 4 years that have been able to do it well. Like still pander to the audience almost around the year, but still be in the source. I would only say Nyla and to a lesser extent Kes. And the only reason I put Kes below is that during the year they it's very rare to hear a new thing from Kes, but what they usually do is give you alternate versions of their repertoire. Also, they're always present, but in terms of actually creating a vibe or a presence of that vibe outside of the source, there's so many analogies there. Like creating more music outside of Carnival, as the basic way to put it. I think not too many people have done it. Irfan has his songs are okay. They usually catch sometimes. They don't, and it's through no fault of his own. The place is just not set up to receive music outside of the source. So it has nothing to do with the credence of his songs. Nyla has done it successfully. Preeti has done it a few times. But it is not enough to say 2 or 3 artists have done it, and it's not enough to say that the radios play people when they think anything. I think it needs to be like a really visceral venture where a lot of people kind of get into it. Within the next, I don't see something normal next year Carnival. It's just semblance of normal, like 75% normal. I would see a normal Carnival season 2023 maybe. That's my opinion.
I have another question. So what do you think is going to be the effect of the Trinidad and Tobago dancehall movement on the Carnival landscape?
Nothing. It's going to live. It was living without it, and it will continue to live without it. We now get privy to it. That was happening long before. Like, that was in the holes, it was everywhere. What happens is that we have a culture here of hype. Hype is becoming, or has been, the currency for a while. Now when something comes, it creeps up to the surface, and now you are made aware of it. There's a hype behind it. So let's attach ourselves to the hype because it gives my credence to my music or my image or my likeness. So let's attach that. So it's the reason why in Soka Mona Glass there was a Zest segment. And it could be lauded as, culture. But we know it's not that. It's just the hype. You know what I mean? And it is fine. Like, don't feel bad about it. It is the reality. If you know that this is what it is, play to your hype and cool yourself. You know what I mean? No, serious. Just be honest about it. Don't be like, no, it's not. I really like it. No, it is hype. I don't see it affecting many other. I expect people to do what they do here, which is hold on to a vibe or suck something from it. You know? Because and there's nothing wrong with it. Is music, is energy, is frequency, is vibration. So something resonates to you, hype or not, you're going to gravitate towards it if it is your vibe.
Yeah, because the reason I ask is because you're having this whole conversation about soca artists putting out stuff outside the season. People putting out the 50%. So it's like all these other people doing it. So no, I mean I'll just finish what I'm saying.
Finish what you're saying, and I already answered.
That's okay. But then, so you're trying to tell me all of these people go and watch everybody else putting on stuff whole year, and now you're hitting big, you're getting millions of views or whatever, and you're not even going to run up and offer a little offering for the people them. The people them like Ken, who not have musically inclined, but I love music. I would listen to music whole day, whole night. You understand?
It's different here, man. You can kind of see, like, since the late 90s to now, solid 20 years, man, so many cycles have passed. There has been a reggae movement, a rock movement, a hip-hop movement, a previous dancehall movement, another reggae movement, another hip-hop movement. Like, it has happened. In the past 20 years, it's cycled. And all the while, like, yes, soca has been there, but so many things have happened. Like, I mean, Anchorage had the Battle of the Bands thing for how many years? You know what I mean? And, like, bands live, that has been a thing. I think what makes it a little weird now and where I believe it is going to take a hit is that there are less and less spaces for people with less and less notoriety to go out and perform. Yeah. There are less live gigs. There are less like at some point in time, mid-2000s, I used to be able to get up, leave my house and go to a spoken word, open mic event, see whoever. And then randomly, somebody random might pass through, like College Durant, he might just show up and sing. Right? Pre-Freetown Mud might just give you a poem, and then like maybe Kes might be there and someone might be like, hey, sing something, and he might just sing. Like it has happened like that. And there's just always been a space of camaraderie where people could just feel comfortable to go in their space, and there have been spaces. No, not so much. Like you cannot leave your house to go and say, hey, I'm going to watch this person perform. Far less now, COVID, quarantine, isolation, lockdowns is going to get worse. So it changes how people deliver the music to you, the consumer. It has changed. It's always been changing, and now it's just a different iteration of it. Essentially, I's a servant to the thing. My thing is to not necessarily cast so many judgments on it. As a human, I will have an opinion, but I just here to help. I here for the source, you know. I here for the source. I mean, on a very altruistic level, without getting too deep. Like I remember telling a brethren of mine this a few weeks back, and I know he didn't get it at the time. But the maturity in me has gotten to a point where I told him that music has become the vessel upon which I travel in the sea of life to find myself. So there's nothing definitive about my actions about it. There's nothing very... The only deliberacy about what I do with music is that I choose to serve it every day. Other than that, whatever happen. Where it fall, it fall. You know what I mean? So, dog, yesterday I was doing a dance track for a man to pitch that UK label, and I mastered Nola Tunji next release, like right now. Like, that's usually my day. That's usually my day. It's like, anything that could happen will show up on my desk, and I'll be like, okay. And it's always a learning experience for me. Is that I always get to learn something. And it may not necessarily just learn from a musical perspective, but I learn, I guess, the mindset of people, the culture of different places where music is concerned, or how to relate to people on a different level, how to perceive people differently. Because you make something for a man, he'd be like, nah, I ain't feeling it. And it's not really him feeling it, it just means he kicked too low. But he can't say that. Just like how you might have a musical language to kind of explain. And some people do, some people don't. So now I get to learn. It's like, now I have to have my own little coded language for everyone because of the service that I provide.
Yeah. And you can ask you, that's like what you mean, like the way you did.
Yeah, exactly.
So what you mean, you know?
Yeah, like just the other day.
Flash coach.
Right, so I was mixing a song for a girl the other day, and she just like this storybook of notes for the mixes, and I was like, okay, all these notes are cool, but here we need to do next time. Like us engineers really like when you time code stuff. Tell me at 1:15 this vocal is too low, raise it. Like this is the thing. Tell me here, like break it down to sections, and that means I am going into zone. Dog, version 2 you were done. Like I give you one mix, it's like touchy. You did that. Second version, I am done. Like we done. We get paid. The song going on release. Everybody happy now. You know what I mean? So creating a good communication base is also very, very important. And these are just little things that I kind of learn because I take it into life. I take it into how I deal with my son. I take it how I deal with my relationships with people, with family, with everybody. So music for me, like I'll sound like a real fireball hippie, I ain't gonna lie, but it is what it is for me. Like I've gone through my parts where I beat up myself real plenty. Having a song like Differentology and a lot of the things that people wouldn't be privy to that went on in the back end, it is mentally unwinding. You view the entire thing differently. So coming from someone who was never always into carnival, after having been part of a song like that, it jades you somewhat, jades you a little bit, and I could accept that, but because you have nothing but like positive intent, but it jades you. But then you now have to really like, okay, we're really doing big, man. Like now you pull yourself out. Now you kind of okay, this is how I really supposed to approach and really give more and more positive energy. I think I was able to do a good job of that because like for subsequent years, that's why I take a couple of years off every time. So you're probably not gonna really see much from me this wrongs because Feely Love happened last year, and then that was like what 2020, and then I can't remember what happened 2018, and then 2016, and then 2014. I always remember 2014 being Allez with Teddyson and John. Always remember that one. Like I was fond of that because his band, best band I ever hear in the Caribbean. I ever hear like best band, like Soka band, best band. Like men here go down cry me down for this, you know, but the bands here is boo compared to them fellas. Boy. I can't lie to you. Like real bad. So when that song came to my desk, it's like the chords, the musicality. Hey, all up in my zone, boy, I wilding out. And I get freedom to kind of express myself and put it out. So it's like, it's cool. But for me, this space needs something. And I always tell people, like, I don't need to give this space what it already have. Because I am not that guy. So let me see what this space needs and I will go to that. And every now and again, I go kind of pee myself, recharge, and then come back again. But not everybody need, like, jam and wine songs all the way through. Like, we could talk about the song because that one stood out, right? That's the point. That is the point.
It's cool.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I think I've really enjoyed the discussion, and I've really enjoyed kind of like peering into your viewpoint. And I feel like the more of these conversations and the more of these viewpoints that we could have, the better the sheriff of the future will be able to understand. And then we also will be able to understand better the landscape that we're in. Because what I've found is that there are people who are like-minded, you know. Yeah. Just as you said in the beginning, you know, you spoke about like in the room.
In the room.
Yeah.
Getting in the right room.
So in the room, not only like in the physical room, but like also in your head space, you know. And I think that's real important.
Yeah. Like this is church. The definition of church from a more Oxford level is the gathering of two or more, the fellowship in something. It's true are we here. So this is church then, but not everybody go in the same church. You know what I mean? And sometimes you might need to go to church in Tunapuna as opposed to the one in Arima or the post. You know what I mean? So it's just it's timing, but it also happening exactly how it needs to be. We could beat up about it as much as we want as we need to, but everything on schedule.
Yeah, agreed. All right, well, thanks again, man. You know?
Till next time.
This city can't hold me. My vibe's too high.